A very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Weekly on the West Ham Voice on a Monday night. I hope you're all well. I hope you all had a good weekend. You know, the football ruins it, but, I guess we can put that to one side until Thursday when we're playing Olympiacos. But I'm going to cover the football, obviously. I'm going to cover the game against Aston Villa that was played at the weekend and also looking forward to the Olympiacos game that's coming up this week. But first of all, of course, we've got to pay tribute to the late, great Sir Bobby Charlton. England hero, footballing legend, died at the age of 86 on Saturday. You know his career. He played for Man United, started off in the youth ranks, went into the senior team, and 24-year footballing career. 606 appearances for Man United, scoring 199 goals, 106 caps for England, scoring 49 goals. Survived the Munich air disaster back in 58, but then went on to win the European Cup with a brand new team at Man United, which included George Best, etc. And then, of course, also he won the World Cup in 1966. He really was a true, I kind of put on Facebook at the weekend when I heard about the news that we talk about legends in football. And we kind of use the word legend quite sort of loosely in this day and age. But when you look at someone like Sir Bobby Charlton and the career he had and the way he conducted himself, but both on and off the football pitch, he was a true legend, an absolute legend of the game. And sad, another great player that's now gone. And Sir Geoff Hurst is the last man standing in terms of the England team that won the World Cup back in 66. So rest in peace, Sir Bobby Charlton. Will be forever remembered, and he's the sort of player that we should talk about, to the kids of today. When it comes to being a footballer, he's the epitome of what a great footballer was. So rest in peace. So what are we going to go on about? Well, let's start, of course, because I know there's an awful lot of chat in there. So I'll tell you what, before I actually go into it, let's get rid of an awful lot of your chat, because there's messages after messages. I think there's about 200 on here, so I'm not going to read them all out, of course, but I'm going to go right to the top and say hello to people. Good evening, Anthony. Sir Bobby Charlton, my thoughts go out to his family, true Man United legend, one of the greats that ever played the game. Absolutely agreed. Anthony, coming back to today's world, Kudus has to play regular now. Keep Antonio for cup games only. Alvarez gave away a stupid penalty and schoolboy defending again. The back four needs new faces, a change for the better. Going to talk about that. Good evening to you, Montana. I hope you're well. I won't lie, yesterday's loss hurt me deeply. The team looked lost, had no fight, sluggish play. Moyes' time is up, I'm afraid. Let's get a proactive manager in. Well, we're going to talk about, Moyes has spent quite a bit of money, hasn't he? So why is he still building? Montana again. I wanted Gary O'Neill in the summer. He's not a world beater, but he plays on the counter-attack and bold when it comes to in-game management. I believe Tim will already be on the lookout for a successor. And here we go again. Moyes out, Moyes out. When do you realise that it's the players that are not performing? Same old crap, load of money that put a crap display on the pitch. Well, I'm going to go into that because I think there's an element of that, absolutely. And you know what I'm like. It's not that I'm what I am with West Ham, with David Moyes, etc., is when there's criticism to be given, there'll be criticism given. When there's praise to be given, then praise to be given. As you know, earlier on in the season, we talked about, I talked about how well we started. I even praised players like Antonio, who I thought were finished. But unfortunately, the way we played at the weekend and the way Antonio played weren't the only one. It will come in for some criticism. Good evening to you, Mark, Debbie and Mark. In my eyes, and I know I'll probably get a lot of stick for saying this, but we need a manager to come in like De Zerbi and have us playing the possession game and break teams down. Well, got some stats for you, because we talked about, possession play, etc. We had a lot of possession, especially away from home. I'm not sure what good it did us. Debbie and Mark. I also believe selling some of the deadwood in January, for example, possibly Antonio, although we all know Moyes will never sell him, but we need a good striker. Antonio isn't fit for the job anymore. I agree. I've not been saying this for recently. I've been saying this for quite some time, unfortunately. But Antonio, as you may have heard in my show 3-4 weeks ago, maybe a bit longer, I can't remember, has got another new contract. His contract's been extended for yet another year. He won't be leaving West Ham United. He'll be kicking and screaming if he does. until he's around 36 years of age. Now, you could argue Antonio's been given an extended contract in order to have some value should we try and sell him in January. Somehow, I don't really see that, though. Good evening, Ralph. I hope you're well, mate. Let's have a few other comments. Good evening, Clive. Please remember to abide by our rules and be respectful. Absolutely. Clive is one of my moderators on here, and thank you for reminding people. But I know you're all good. I know you all like a bit of banter and you get your points across, and I think that's great. Absolutely. But be respectful of each other as well. Good evening to you, Ed. I hope you're well, mate. Thanks for joining and thanks for your message earlier. John, good evening to you. Antonio and Inces wanted retirement before we are in relegation zone again. Antonio and Ince. Ings, I think that means, yeah. Antonio and Ings want retirement before we are in the relegation zone again. We're starting to lower the flag again. Play Kudos. That's why we bought him. Hammerette, good evening to you. Amazingly beautiful hammers. As much as that was a hard watch and a subpar performance, we are still slightly massive. Let's see what damage we can do this weekend. Well, let's forget Everton. We've got a game before that. Clive, please remember, yes, please. If you're brand new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the bell notification to let you know when I'm next on. It certainly helps. On my way to 5,000, I can't believe it when I say it. I kind of say it half laughing, but on my way to 5,000 subscribers, I'm really, I'm elated. Thank you. Good evening, usual. I hope you're well. All the degenerates. Mr. McLaren, how are you? Still want him gone, though. We should have got Ange Postecoglou. He's doing well, isn't he? I must admit, I did think, I remember when he was being mentioned in the before, and I thought, well, he's not really done it in big leagues, and well, he's proven me wrong. He's doing very well at Tottenham, isn't he? Hammerette, this one result does not show us how our season will go. I agree. Doesn't determine if we are a decent side. Just shows that when enough players don't turn up and Moyes doesn't do his homework, we're crap. I agree with that. That's a good, that's a good review, very brief review of the game. Galispero to you, Keith. I hope you're well. I haven't contacted you, have I? And I said I would, and I promise that I will. Ralph, really annoyed at Moyes' post-match comments. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that as well, because that's what prompted me to put the title of the show. 40 million spent, and we're still building. When when the Villa manager seems to have done it in a year. But anyway, good evening to you, Daniela. I hope you're well. Hi, everyone. Yes, not a great weekend, but the end of the world. A poor show. Not the end of the world. Poor showing by both manager and players. Adam, good evening to you. Hope you're well. If not happy, Moyes' shit tactics of playing Antonio and not Kudus cost us the game. Could have been a different, so different we carried on, but Moyes has to learn. Well, I've got a theory, and I'm going to talk about, some changes that might be coming up. But bear with me, and I'll tell you what that theory is later on. Good evening to you, Steve. I hope you're well. Pathetic, disgusting performance yesterday. It's embarrassing that Antonio at 34 is leading the line. 9 games, 2 goals, none in his last 6. Soucek back to his worst yesterday as well. Peter, what about the away fans that spent their hard-earned to watch that crap show and have to get home on a Sunday night? Yeah, it was pretty poor. I fell asleep on the train. Well, I was listening to Wiggy. Daniela, Adam Cook, I understand why say this, but I don't think it will make that much difference as the whole team had an off day. I do think the whole team had an off day, and I do wonder when people were talking, mentioning about, oh, we should have played Kudush, whether it would have made a difference, because I think a few people have already alluded to it. It wasn't just 1 or 2 players that played badly. It's almost the whole team did. Ralph, soon be adding Kudush to that list of players destroyed by. No, I think that's too early to say that. I get why people think that. I totally do, but I think it's too early to say that. Adam, we're still 3 to 5 players from being a top 4 to 8 team consistently. We need to invest in January so we have a chance of winning the Europa League. Don't totally disagree with that. I don't think we need as many as that, but we do need a few more. Robert, good evening to you. It's 10 and you're still just reading this in the chat. I know. I'm trying to be really, really fast and catch up. Vinay, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Moyes is doing a Benny on Kudush, complaining it doesn't track back. Moyes out. Well, that's the thing that annoys me as well. When you buy an attacking player, let the bloody player attack. It's no good, worrying about. But you know what's going to happen with that defeat, that mauling by Villa, your feeling is that Moyes is going to sort of revert again back to type, isn't he? And he's going to be thinking defence first. And I just wonder how much of an impact that's going to have on his team selection going forward. Vinay again. Ralph, enjoying this. Enough is enough. This season's going to be about Moyes starting Antonio and Souček. The pair of them can't pass and have poor ball control. Let's scroll down. Good evening, Dlavaki. I hope you're well. Thank you for your email. I know I've got to get back to you, and I promise I will do before the end of the week. I promise you. And Vinay, was Antonio a false 9 last game? He was a false footballer. That's a new tactic. Steve, hi, Drubbing, HH Drubbing. Hammeret. We always coming the way. Was always coming the way we play. Areola has saved us many times. Moyes is too negative. Good evening to you, Jerry. I hope you're well. Rugby and cricket ruined it as well. Yeah, I was taking the piss out of both Paul and Wiggy because they were watching the rugby and the cricket, and I just thought, rubbish. It's bad enough watching the football. Good evening to you, Lee. I hope you're well. Thank you for hit the like button. Absolutely. Hammeret, it's too easy to pick out how shit Antonio was, but there were many players who were crap yesterday. Not one can be the reason for the loss. That with Moyes not changing things when things go wrong. Yeah, I agree. It wasn't just one player that played poorly. I know people, and I've got to blame Antonio. There were certain things Antonio wasn't doing. He looked like he was, run out of puff after 5-10 minutes. But it wasn't just him that played poorly. Good evening, Hammers Mikey. I hope you're well. Time for Moyes to go now. Please tell Moyes in Bukaka Love Train passengers on here to wake up and smell the Kenko. After one game, poor game. It's the worst game we played, without a doubt. By far, it was the worst game. Do I think it should be Moyes out? I don't think that's going to happen, to be quite honest with you. But let's not. I'm sort of so hopeful we don't get back to where we were last season. I mean, look, if the results keep going bad, then I can certainly imagine that things, that the fans will be screaming for Moyes to leave. But I hope we don't get into the position that we were last season. I kind of understood it. I kind of understood fans' frustrations, etc., because we had a terrible season throughout the whole season. And thankfully, we had a couple of games, a few patches throughout the season where we kind of redeemed ourselves and stayed a Premier League team. We've started really well this season, and we've got to remember that. Yesterday was poor. It was absolutely a poor game. But I hope we don't go down that path of sort of like saying that's it, just because of that one game, it's Moyes out, Moyes out. There are people that have their reasons for wanting Moyes to leave. But it is only one game. We've got to see what happens. We've got still a long way to go. There's only a third of the season gone. Not even that. 9 games, this has gone. And, we've still got quite a large number of games to go. Good evening, Rupert. I hope you're well. Be careful in Athens because it kicked off big time yesterday over the weekend. Need you to get back in one piece because you owe me a double on Sunday. Oh, really? Who did it? What, the local teams it kicked off? I wonder if that, because we were told that apparently, things happen around the stadiums, but Athens is relatively meant to be a safe area. But thanks for letting me know. I'm going to look into that. Let's scroll down. Good evening to you, Epic. I hope you're well. I struggle to enjoy watching football under Moyes. I get it. I understand it. Ironically, we had more possession at the weekend, but it's what you do with it, as I always say. Adam, our English legends are all disappearing. We will have none soon to look up to. Rest in peace, Mr. Charlton. Absolutely. Good evening to you, Kevin. I hope you're well. People should stop moaning about Antonio. He had a bad game, but he's not a striker. It's not his fault. Yeah, well, it's not his fault he gets picked, so we can maybe lay that one on Moyes' table that we should actually have an alternative. Andy, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Apologies, Star. I'm late joining the chat. Evening talk. Trust me, you haven't missed much. We did the, we said a little bit about Bobby Charlton, and I'm going to start going into a little bit more analysis detail of the game in a moment. Good evening to you, Flamer. I hope you're well. Paul, good evening to you. I was at Villa yesterday, sat there with the Villa supporters in the Douglas Upper on my best behaviour. How did they think about the game? Because I kind of read that a lot of Villa fans kind of said that the scoreline didn't really depict I mean, they were better. They were better than us around the pitch. There's no denying that. You know, they were better defending, they were better in midfield, they were better up in attack, etc., etc. But I've kind of seen quite a few messages saying that a lot of Villa fans didn't think that the 4-1 scoreline really depicted the game. What did people say to you while you were there, mate? James H, good evening to you. Disappointed with the Villa game. Play Kudus and Mbama more. Antonio on the bench as a sub. He might be all right for 20 minutes, but he can't play 90 minutes anymore. I agree with that as well, to be quite honest with you. Mark, good evening to you. With the Moyes money we've spent, we should not be so far behind Villa. Our players match up to theirs, so it must be tactics and setup. Yeah, this is the thing that got me. And the reason why I did the title of the show is because I was listening to Moyes' post-match review, and he talked about Villa as if like they've been building for years and like we're still struggling to build. And like that got me a little bit. It's like, come on, mate. You know, and I'm going to go into that. I'm going to go into the details about, you know, how long he's had, how much money he's spent, etc., in a moment. Good evening, old man. I hope you're well. Antonio form dropped off as soon as he got his. That's true. Unfortunately, the minute we heard that it was announced that he got his new contract, all of a sudden Antonio's effort just went out the window. And I hate thinking that way, but it seems to be fact, unfortunately. Montana. Results like these will make it easier for the board to move on from Moyes. Good thing. That is probably true, because my thinking is, you know, talking about, you know, when will Moyes, what will happen with Moyes this season? He's in his last year of his contract. What will happen? Will he get a new one? Will he leave? I've got a feeling that decision won't be made till well after Christmas. I said, let's see what happens around about Christmas. I've got a feeling now it probably won't happen until even later in the season, to be quite honest with you. Flemmer. As long as we have Moyes, Souček, Antonio, Zuma, we'll have the same shit over and over again. Yeah, that's another concern of mine, which is why I kind of thought about how much money have we spent and why does our team still look a little bit short of what it should be? You know, a team that competes. Good evening to you, John Hicks. I hope you're well. Antonio is funked. Play Kudos. That's why. Andy. Good evening, English Yardy. I hope you're well, mate. Thanks for joining. Andy, our problem with having only Antonio as a striker lies our problem and is the problem, and Moyes has only one way of playing that requires Antonio to play up front. This is what's frustrating. Do you remember when we got Scamacca in and we're all trying to analyse and saying, great, we got a striker, thank goodness we've got a striker, and then we were analysing. I was looking at his details and the way he played, and I kept saying to myself, this is another Haller. And I've said it so many times before. It's another Sebastian Haller. It's not another Antonio. And you're right. You know, Moyes needs another Antonio. There aren't that many other Antonios out there, unless Moyes decides to do what we all think he probably will do, and that's to start using Bowen up front a lot more, and then probably Kudos out wide. Steve, weak point in our team are Soufal, Agurd, Souček, Antonio. It's a lot of players to be weak, but, you know, you're not far wrong. Jerry, why did Moyes insult Fornals and bring him on for a matter of minutes? He's worthy better of that. I totally agree. I don't get that. I don't get that thinking. I don't get that mentality. What is the point? It is a bit of an insult. I agree. James, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Good evening, Ed. Andy, I'm not sure Moyes knows how to make the best use of a striker he hasn't created. Exactly what I meant when I said it looks like, you know, if he moves forward, it's going to be Bowen in at front, so he can he's created yet another striker out of a winger. Look, it's worked a couple of times. Will it continue to work? I think Bowen is capable of playing in that position. But when I saw Ollie Watkins, the way he played at the weekend and the difference that they had up front in comparison to our attacking line, and I kept thinking to myself, what was it when when we were buying Benrahma, how did Ollie Watkins slip through the net? You know, we're all talking about you know, other players at Brentford, you know, Ivan Toney, etc., and Benrahma at the time. How is it that everybody missed Ollie Watkins? You know, because I could see Ollie Watkins playing for West Ham United and being an absolute smash, an absolute sensation. Because not only does he know how to get a fucking good goal, he's got a great shot on him, he actually works the flanks as well, as he did against West Ham at the weekend. Mark, did Moyes tell Sullivan he wanted signing, so Sully signed Ings? We knew that was a desperate attempt at the time when we were flailing, we were trying to get goals. And I remember a lot of us said, a lot of people that do shows and all that, and all that, everybody said at the time, Oh, that's astute. That's a clever signing. Makes absolute sense. Danny Ings, proper Premier League footballer, knows the Premier League inside out. It makes perfect sense. Hasn't worked out though, has it? Why? Because Danny Ings is not a sole out and out, a lone striker. Flimmer, one thing is I'm hoping for Father Christmas will bring us is the best Moyes gone and new positive manager. It won't happen until probably the end of the season. Vinay, Gio from Hammers Chat wanted Postecoglou, was an imposter in place of Antonio. Does he have a twin brother? Was an imposter in place of Antonio. Does he have a twin brother? I don't know. I think one's bad enough. Howard, evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Barry. How are you? Problem with West Ham is Moyes, Souček, and Antonio. Souček didn't. Well, I know. Look, they all played bad there. I know it's easy to pick out Souček and Antonio, but I tell you who I thought our worst player was at the weekend, and that was Paqueta. He was terrible. Kind of like I remember Paul Williams, one of my mates. He goes, I love watching him, but he's got a mistake in him. Sometimes he frustrates the hell out of you, and boy oh boy did he frustrate. I mean, the second goal, the penalty wasn't. It was a clumsy challenge by Alvarez, but that ball should never have gone back the way it did from Paqueta. Paqueta created that problem, and he can be for. And I think, unfortunately, Paqueta was probably worse than Antonio. Matthew, good evening to you. It all went. It all well and good wanting Moyes gone. It's all well and good wanting Moyes gone, but no one is offering up a realistic option. Don't suggest Alonso. It ain't happening. Well, I don't know. Because we heard that Alonso had signed a new contract at Bayer Leverkusen, and now there's a suggestion that he could be gone at the end of the season. Now, the suggestion is that he could be gone to Real Madrid. But we know Steiden has a very, very good relationship with Alonso, and who knows? Who knows what could happen? I've got other theories. I think, we could look at some of the backroom staff that are with Moyes at the moment. Heitinger, could he be? Maybe an alternative. Good evening to you, John. I hope you're well. I don't like the new set. Change it back. I can't. I'm in a new room. Maybe you missed the show. We finally moved home, and I've actually got an area that I can call a proper studio area. So no, mate, I can't change it back. I'm really sorry. And can't you see my little statue there? That's me. Hang on, show you the other way. That's me. Got my name on it. When I used to be a brilliant footballer. English Yardie, I'm watching Spuds throwing up my dinner. That manager has basically transformed that team. I hate even talking about it. What's the score there? I know they're playing tonight. Oh, I daren't ask. James, how many of us think Kudus being put out on the left is Moyes saying that he doesn't rate him as a striker? Do you know what? It was like, what are you doing? Why even bother? I've said in my review, when we were looking at buying Kudus, I said, the one area he's never played in is on the left side. He's left-footed, but he's never played on the left side. And what did Moyes do? Put him on the left side. Trini, evening still. Still seeing nonsense from fans. People, it's crazy, isn't it, Trini? I think we're not. What's the word for it? I think we want so much so quickly. There's no patience, and one bad game doesn't ruin the whole season. Look, I won't lie. If it continues to be bad, we're talking another problem. But one bad game, look, he'll put it right. It won't be pretty. We've got Everton coming up in the Premier League. After the Olympiacos game, he'll put it right. We won't like what we see. We might not have a lot of possession, even at home, even against someone like Everton. But I bet you it would be put right, But anyway, hammer it. Shane Moyes started Antonio, given what we all know about his form after internationals. Annoying he kept him on. Surely the players must have something to say about it. He wasn't on international duty, is my understanding. I know we had a few players, and I don't want to use this as an excuse, but I know we had quite a few players that were on international duty. And I know Alvarez and I think Kudus, I think they played against each other, didn't they? Out in Mexico or in America or something like that. There's quite a lot of players that flew quite a lot of distances to play international football. Fuck me. That's got to be changed, doesn't it? But anyway, so I don't want to use that as an excuse. And I had a look at the Villa squad and how many of their players. They had a few players on international duty, but I don't think they put the miles in as much as some of our players did. But I want, it's lame to use the internationals as an excuse. But we know what happens after internationals. West Ham's form always dips almost straight after. Spurs are 2-0 up against Fulham. All right, it's only Fulham. Trini, we did not create one clear-cut chance for anyone. Our midfield was gash, all of them. 100% agree. Ralph, anyone else watching Babbling Irons post-match analysis? They're good. No, I haven't heard of them, so I might have a look at them at some points. Flammer, it's embarrassing to think Moyes is our manager. Destroyed Fornals, Benny, and soon Paqueta and Kudush. Destroyed Fornals. I think I'm surprised at the way Fornals has been treated, to be quite honest with you. I'm very, very shocked. I think the player's got, still a lot to offer. Benrahma has always been hot and cold at West Ham United, but, don't disagree again. That's, Benrahma's confidence has probably been knocked. Paqueta and Kudush, let's see. I don't know. Still a long way to go. James, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Matt, I'm partly Jamaican. It vexes me how our fans slagged off Mike going to Jamaica. Okay, for England is way bigger, but every player who gets the opportunity to play for their nation should never slag them. Totally agree. I've said this many, many times before. I said, it's every player wants to play international football. Antonio, he was in the England squad twice. I think he didn't play once because he was injured, and the other time he didn't get picked or whatever, so he never got a full England cap. And when Jamaica came calling, absolutely right for him to go, well, okay, this is where I'll lay my hat, and rightly so. I don't have a problem with it. I think the problem is, unfortunately, is that it's the distance, it's the mileage. Antonio started his Jamaica career really, really late. That's going to take its toll. And I think that's what people get a little bit frustrated by. But I don't begrudge him wanting to play international football. But like I said, I don't think he was picked for the Jamaican squad, but I could be wrong. Moyes knows low block counter-attack, and that's it. The players cannot keep the ball, cannot string together passes. Our midfield did not press either. It was everything, but the irony is, this is probably the first game this season so far that we've seen all of that go wrong. Mr. Williams, good evening to you. I've got a little photo of you later on, so keep watching. Have a good trip, mate. You'll be missed. Absolutely. Billy Bob, good evening to you. I've gently caressed the like button. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Peter, good evening, Paul. Paul, you going Sunday? Hopefully he is. I'm hoping. Good. I hope I'll see you both there. Barry, the only players who came out with any credit were Emerson and Bowen. Don't disagree again. Good evening to you, Charlie. I've definitely seen worse when teams come to us. At least you got a goal as fortuitous as it was. Good luck. Thank you for that. And look, you're playing great football, Aston Villa, and kudos to you. It's been fantastic watching you develop over the last 12 months under Unai Emery. Trini, I don't get why when channels are analysing, they blame their senior players for lack of physicality. Like only our players who are in their 30s run out of steam. It happens to older players in all teams. I totally agree. And like I said earlier on in the show, Antonio's not. I'm not laying the defeat on Antonio or the performance on Antonio. We all played, like I said, I think our worst player was Paqueta, and he's way younger than 30. Vino, last season argument for keeping Moyes was his good at relegation battles. This season, the team is too good to go down. So get rid of this stubborn, deluded man. I think I know where you stand. Good evening, Darren. How are you? Mbama needs a run of games as Antonio has passed his sell-by date. Well, I don't disagree with that either, but let's get Kudush in the team first before we even start thinking of Mbama. John, Olympiacos and Panathinaikos was called off due to fireworks being thrown at players. Fuck me. Okay, so it was at the game. I'm kind of looking forward to going to Athens, and at the same time, I'm not sure I'm really looking forward to going to Athens. I've got to brush up on my Greek and pretend I'm Greek. Thank God I'm going with a Welshman. He can just speak in Welsh. Corky, evening, Stel. Moyes needs to rest Antonio. Start with Kudush up front to rotate with Bowen and put Paqueta in midfield as a number 9 and only use one central defensive midfielder. Socek on the bench. Moyes try this on Thursday. It's probably exactly what he's going to do. And the irony is, when we played against, not not Freiburg. Well, we've done it against Freiburg, but against TSC. I know it was against Freiburg. When we played against Freiburg, he did just that. He played players when you thought, oh, shape of things to come. This is what he's going to start doing in the Premier League. Like I said, I've got a theory when he's going to do that, because I think he will eventually start doing that. But I think it's going to be a little while before it happens, though. So bear with me. I'm going to try and run through these comments as quickly as I can and get there. English Yardie, I'm not understanding why people are making excuses for Moyes. It's getting repetitive, same old same. Not making excuses for him. Like I said, where there's criticism to be had, there's criticism to be had. And this is one game that, I think he and the players needed to be criticised for, without a doubt. Andy, Villa game reminded me of the Leverkusen friendly, drubbing outside the fact that we managed a goal in the Villa. Both games showed lack of. I'll get to your next bit, Andy. I'm sure I will. Eric John, good evening to you. One thing for sure, Moyes can't beat the top sides. That is true. And then he alluded to Aston Villa now being one of the top sides in the way they've developed. And that wound me up a little bit. Trini, Bowen signed his long-term contract on the understanding that Moyes was gone this season. I hope so. Well, I know I've taken a few weeks off. I didn't do a show last Monday, but I got a few shows up my sleeve, and I'm going to talk a bit about, why Bowen signed his contract. I've got some information on that. Right. So, Andy, you said Villa game reminding me of Leverkusen, blah, blah, blah. The fact that we managed to goal in that. Both games showed lack of energy. And lack of game plan from Moyes. Don't disagree. Yeah, it was quite similar. Yeah, I agree. Ballon, good evening to you. One defeat and the Moyes haters are wetting the bed. Calm down. Hammers Mikey. Moyes is like the itch you get deep inside your bum hole when you eat too much sugar. You try to scratch it by wiggling. Good Lord, Charlie. We were lucky that we were clinical. Areola definitely a quality keeper, but I believe it's just we have stronger players in key areas. No disrespect taken at all. I think where it mattered in certain parts of the area, especially the midfield, I think you came across an awful lot stronger, without a shadow of a doubt. Anthony, come on, Stell. Have you forgotten to pay your broadband this month? What's happened now? Don't tell me my broadband's gone down. Hopefully you can still see me and hear me. Trini, Kudus won't make any difference with the way we build up, pass and keep the ball. All things we don't do. So any striker would struggle. Elias Skamaka, a perfect example. Stop blaming Antonio. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, I don't know if people are, but to me, Antonio was one of the problems. But unfortunately, we had more than just one problem on the pitch against Aston Villa. Fred, Moyes never seems to learn any same old mistakes. You can set your watch to his substitutions. No rotation. Players can be knackered by Christmas. That I don't disagree with. It was disappointing. We thought, I'm doing the analysis now. So we thought that there'd be some changes at half time. And I'm surprised that there weren't any. Funky T, good evening to you. Disappointing weekend. Internationals always spoils our momentum. Antonio was just wandering around all game. Andy, last 5 games in the Premier League, we have 4 points from 15, 3 of them against the worst team in the Premier League. This is a worrying trend for me, and confidence will crash. Let's see how it goes. Charlie, I want to also say from a Villa fan's point of view, Villa Park is the hardest away ground to play at. Team full of confidence. Don't beat yourselves up over it. You're absolutely storming it at the moment. You really are. English Yardie. Souček, Soufal, Antonio are undroppable with Moyes as manager. Yesterday lineup was basically started. Souček as the number 10 position. That's laughable. Who does that? Oh, yeah. David Moyes. Morel, folks, good evening to you. Just hope yesterday was a one-off. Don't want the season to fizzle out. However, Moyes needs to change his tactics, stop being stubborn and predictable. Andy, still, rumour was Karen Brady said Watkins was a championship striker at best and would be a waste of money and high risk. She should stick to the apprentice, in my opinion. Fuck me. I was always told she was never involved in transfers, and then she comes out with that shit. And that's probably why she shouldn't be involved in transfers. Ballon. Would a 49-year-old Ian Pearce as an emergency striker do a better job than Antonio? Benai, Paqueta was crap because he has to play with untechnical players. No, I disagree with that, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Like Antonio and Souček, West Ham have outgrown Antonio, Souček and Moisaurus Rex. Time he got a good free transfer to a museum. I don't disagree with Antonio, Souček, probably needing to move on. who have both just been given new contracts, by the way. But I don't think Paqueta was crap because he was playing with those players. I think Paqueta was crap was just because Paqueta had a really poor day in the office, to be honest with you. Jason, good evening to you. Good show. Much appreciated. And thank you for commenting. Jason, again, Spurs will do well with good team, but don't have any European football, so less injuries can rest more. That is true. You know, when you're not in European football, you have to go. You cannot take it. Not easy, but you don't have to play 2 games a week all the time. So yeah, be interesting to see how Spurs do under Postecoglou when they are playing European. If they play European football next season. Let's say they hope they don't. Anthony, wait till the 800-meter stadium gets built near the London Stadium. Then you will have something new to complain about. Then Moyes out. What London? What? Oh yes, this. What was it? I don't know what they're building. It's not a football stadium, is it? There's something else that they're thinking about building. John, I thought Kudus buy was to interchange with Bowen. That lasted about 10 minutes. It's early days, but I am frustrated that Kudus didn't start, or at least didn't come on at halftime. All right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into a bit of the analysis. So bear with me 1 second. So the starting lineup. Look, this is the first thing I was surprised at, that the starting lineup wasn't any different to what it was against the game Newcastle a few weeks ago. Many of us, we've already talked about it. Many of us thought that Kudus would start. Moyes gave out all the sort of hints, didn't he, that it was quite possible that Kudus was ready, but the Ghanaian was still not in the starting lineup. Our first 10 minutes or so, something like that, we weren't that bad. We had a chance on target, etc., and we looked quite lively. And you know, we thought it might be another successful day at Villa. We've always seemed to do quite well at Villa ground over the years. The last time we lost to them was back in May 2015. And since then, we won 6 and drawn 4. So I guess we went there with some optimism at least. But under Unai Emery, as has already been alluded to, Villa are very, very good side these days, which is reflected in them qualifying for the Europa Conference League. Sorry about that, which is shown by their league position, and then currently being just 2 points off league leaders, Man United in 5th place. Look, but I kind of alluded to it a minute ago, and the final score. Look, they were better. Let's not deny it. We were awful. Let's not deny that either. But the final score, was it really a 4-1 sort of score result? Because I don't know. We had. You know, we had the possession that people craved, 45% possession and all that sort of stuff. But like I've always said, it's what you do with the possession rather than having the possession. You can have a 90% possession, but if you don't shoot and try and score, you're not going to win a game. Look, I think their counter-attacking play was better than us. Let's take nothing away from them. Everything, like I said earlier on, everything that we did badly, they really did well. Look, many fans were blaming. Let's go through the team and start with Areola, because many fans blamed Areola for some of the goals that we conceded. And the first one, I'm not so sure. If you have another look at it, it got a deflection, I think, of a Gerd, which just slightly took it away from Areola as he dived down. I know Wiggy was with me, and he sort of said, "No, he's just, trying to wind me up and saying Fabianski would have saved that." But I think Areola was really, really unfortunate with the first goal. Now the third goal, the goal that Watkins scored, again people were saying, he was out of position, etc. But that was a great strike. That was an absolutely stunning strike, and I'm not sure any keeper would have managed to save that goal, to be quite honest with you. So Areola moving forward, I think, someone said earlier on, I think it was the Aston Villa fan that was chatting, saying Areola is a good keeper, and I think he is a good keeper. Look, we move into our defence. It looked sluggish. It looked lethargic. Soufal seemed to struggle to keep up with the pace at times. So did both our centre-backs, who both got dummied for 2 goals. Zuma got dummied by Watkins for their 3rd goal, and then Bailey dummied a Gerd for their 4th goal. I mean, centre-backs, defenders, shouldn't be dummied like that, especially in the 18-yard box. Both of them in the 18-yard box. Stand your ground. They got too easily taken on there, both goals. And that kind of highlights what a lot of fans have been saying. Because at the beginning of the season and during the transfer window, many fans were saying we need another right back, you know, to cover for or to replace Soufal, and are we sure about Zuma, etc. And I kept thinking, no, it's the left back side that we really need. But ironically, Emerson at left back is one of the players that came out with a little bit of credit from the game. So yeah, well, I think we've got a problem with regards to our central defence, and we've got to start asking ourselves, you know, do we need to make changes in central defence? I think it was too easy for Villa, you know, being dummied in, you know, just outside the 6-yard box, you know, for the fourth goal by Bailey was just like kind of embarrassing. And the Gerd, you know, is he ready for the drop? Is Mavropanos really, should Mavropanos be coming in to replace a Gerd? Because he's not had a great game. And he's not had quite a few mistakes throughout the season. But then when you look at Zuma, and you just wonder to yourself, you know, would a more sprightly defender, would he have gotten closer to Watkins for their third goal? You know, and I just wonder, would it be right to drop a Gerd, or should we be looking at the possibility of Mavropanos, siding up with a Gerd? Maybe a Gerd with a central defender that's got a bit more, I don't know, a bit more fitness, a bit more agility, etc. Would he be better off having a Gerd alongside Mavropanos? I keep wondering, you know, because everyone's saying a Gerd should be dropped, but I wonder maybe if Zuma should be dropped. Is Zuma being captain? Is it too much of a burden to carry? All of a sudden, he doesn't look like, he certainly didn't look very good at the weekend against Villa. Moyes, of course, could opt for a back three. He kind of alluded to his disappointment at the way we defended against Villa. Like I said, I think their counter-attacking play was really, really good. I think they had both Diaby and Watkins up front, with Diaby playing just behind Watkins, really caused us an awful lot of problems. Would Moyes think that maybe the way forward is to go with a back three, maybe Mavropanos, Zuma and a Gerd? I don't know, but something's got to kind of change there. There needs to be something different there, and maybe dropping a Gerd or for Mavropanos might not be enough. Is Zuma the problem? I don't know. Look, and then it comes to midfield, and we've got to, like I said earlier on, we've got to say one of the worst players on the pitch at the weekend was Paqueta. You know, like I said, Paul Williams, my friend, said earlier on to me earlier in the season, lovely to watch, but frustrating at the same time. That error for the penalty, it was created by Paqueta. He was dithering him. He doesn't just want to beat players. He wants to do something a little bit flash, doesn't he? And then because he knew he couldn't get away from Kamara, he passed it back. He passed it into nowhere land, you know, and it was a clumsy challenge by Alvarez, but unfortunately it was created by Paqueta. Look, our whole midfield didn't play well. You know, the ever reliable, for example, Ward-Prowse, didn't show up. Every corner he took, every free kick he took was a little bit short. Alvarez, who's been a stalwart in central midfield, you know, he left massive gaps for Aston Villa to sort of use. And like I said, Paqueta as well didn't look good. Souček was taken off, rightly so, because he wasn't effective either. So our midfield, who we've become quite happy with more or less this season in the way they've been playing, etc., just didn't do the business at the weekend at all. They were all pretty poor. Look, Bowen, as usual, was the only player that sort of came up in midfield that was industrious. He tried to get us going. We got a lucky deflection for the goal, but that got us back in it. You know, at 2-0 down, when they got the penalty, we kind of thought, oh, here we go. This is it. This is the end of the game. And then out of nothing, we got a goal, and then we had a 10-minute spell, give or take, something like that, where I thought quite possibly we were going to get back in this. We're going to snatch something we kind of really didn't deserve. But then the goal, you know, fantastic counter-attacking play, and this is the difference. And I've talked about our goalie, I've talked about our defense, talked a little bit about midfield, and then we've got to talk about what's going on up front. And the massive difference between Aston Villa and West Ham United is they got a player that can not only, has got ability, agility, youth, speed, etc., who can take on our defenders. And that goal, Watkins, and that was the killer. You know, that was it. Game over. You know, and what they did to us, or what we tried to do to other teams. Fantastic, fast, counter-attacking football. And that's the difference, because We didn't have that at the weekend. We didn't seem to when we had the ball. I think Villa were quite happy to let us have it. They kind of went, "You have it, we'll close you down, but you go ahead and do something with it." And we did nothing with it. Look at the stats. People are calling out for us having more possession. 42%. I think I said 45 earlier. My mistake. 42% possession away from home is actually very good. You look at the shots on goal. 4 shots on goal to their 8. We had 11 shots in total. When you think about it, that's actually not bad. That's why I asked, is the 4-1 scoreline really depictive of the game? And the reason why there was a 4-1 scoreline isn't because we didn't have possession, isn't because we conceded and sat back, etc. It's because we did nothing with it when we had the ball. We were no good at using it. Someone said earlier on, we couldn't pass the ball. Our midfielders who normally, Ward-Prowse, Paqueta, etc., all these players that will pass the ball, smooth passing, build up play, etc., just wasn't happening. So 42% possession, but it's what you do with it that counts. And unfortunately, it was one of those games. But like I said, taking nothing away from Villa, I think their front line, Diaby, and I think Diaby was a winger, wasn't he, before he went to Villa? And I don't know if it was Emery that's moved him into a more central role or not. I'm not too sure. But Diaby and Watkins caused us endless amounts of problems. Look, when Kudus came on, did he make a difference? Not really, to be quite honest with you. I think Kudus came on. It was kind of one of those games where it just felt like it was a little bit too late for him to do anything about it. But we've got to be honest. And like I said, I'm not blaming only Antonio, but you've got to sort of ask yourself, why is Antonio at 34 start? A lot of people want to see Antonio come on for maybe the last half hour of the game to really spend that half hour running at defenses. And I think that's what Antonio now needs to do. No, not what Antonio now needs to do. That's what Moyes now needs to do with Antonio. It's got to take him to one side and say, look, mate, you've been a fantastic servant for us. You can still do a job for West Ham United, but unfortunately, it won't be from the start, the starting 11. It'll be from the bench. And Antonio's got an ego. He won't like it and he might want to move. Well, if that's the case, then let him go. You cannot rely continuously on the same player trying to do the same thing that he was doing 2, 3, 4 years ago. Unfortunately, I think we can get the best out of Antonio, but the best out of Antonio is coming on from the bench, and that must mean at some point that Kudus has to start. There's got to come a point where you've got to start seeing some changes. I've talked about potentially, I think our midfield, you would probably take Souček out. Yeah. And maybe Benrahma, maybe even Fornals. Why not? And I've talked about our defense, bringing in Mavropanos. Ironically, I think Moyes does go with 5 at the back, 3 centre backs, 2 wing backs, etc. You're going to lose a midfielder anyway. And that's where you probably move Souček to the bench. And then, but you've got to also be brave. You've got to be brave and say, when players aren't doing it for me, there's no point, sort of using them over and over and over and over again. Give them that respite. I think I said almost the same thing about 2 seasons ago when Antonio was going through another, patch where he wasn't scoring, etc. And saying the best thing for Antonio to do is take him out of the firing line. Take a player, whatever player it is, Antonio, whoever, when they're not performing and they're consistently not performing, the best thing to do is to take them out of the firing line, let them sit on the bench, let them see what's going on, so that then, you can bring them on fresh and then they can deliver something that we don't have on the pitch at the time. I don't know. I think Kudus, I do want to see Kudus start. I think many of us do, without a shadow of a doubt. Would he have made a difference if he'd started at the weekend? Well, he's got a trickery in him. He's got pace. He's hard to get off the ball, etc. And quite possibly, when I looked at what was going on with Diaby and Watkins, I kept thinking to myself, we've got a player like Diaby. Oh, that's Kudus. He's on the bench. And I think that's the frustrating thing. It's such a shame that we didn't sort of use him earlier. Look, and I talked about, in my title of the show, I talked about how much money Moyes has spent. David Moyes, over the 4 years he's been with us in his second spell back at West Ham United, he spent £403 million on 20 different footballers. And what I think really wound me up was when he was when he was being interviewed after the game, and he talked about how he praised Aston Villa, and rightly so. He praised Aston Villa at the time and saying, they were a level above us. He said they were a different level to what we are. But why are they on a different level to what we are? Unai Emery has been there for a year. David Moyes has been at West Ham United for 4 years. He talked about Aston Villa, being a team that's on the next level, etc. And that's where we want to be. But David, you've spent £400 million on 20 players in 4 years. That's where we should be. And I get people's frustrations when he comes out with comments like that. He doesn't do himself any favours. Absolutely right to praise Aston Villa for having become a formidable team, but absolutely wrong to suggest that we're still building, we're still trying to get there ourselves. As if Aston Villa have done it, have spent a lot longer doing it, a lot more money doing it. They've spent a lot less time and a lot less money doing it. So what's going wrong? And then when you start looking at some of the players that we've been buying over the last few years, you start to sort of realize, the penny starts to drop. Like, for example, I mentioned him earlier on. We bought Skamaka. Everyone was cock a hoop. We finally bought a striker. But we bought the wrong type of striker because he's not going to play the style of football that David Moyes wants him to play. So spending £400 million on 20 different players and then keep saying we need to build it. And I'm not like, why? We've had a lot of time. Look, I'm going to say we've had some great seasons. I still maintain that. Finishing 6th, finishing 7th, semi-final of a European competition, winning the European competition, etc., etc. It has been great, But when Moyes comes out with comments like that to say, "Oh, they're on a different level to us," they've got a great team. This is what we're aspiring to achieve. What? Why? Why are we aspiring to get to Aston Villa's level when we've been, with the greatest of respect to Aston Villa, when we've been kind of better than them for quite a few years? Anyway, so there we are. To me, the game, it was one of those games. Look, I'm fingers crossed. And I hear what people have said. The last few games, we've only beaten Sheffield United, etc. And I get all that as well. But I think we're going to see what happens over the next few games. Everton, of course, put Olympiacos to one side for a moment, but Everton, of course, is important. It's a game that we should really should win. So let's see what Moyes sets up there. Do I think Moyes is going to change it, the team lineup? I kind of think not. I think he should. I think he should seriously consider, at the very, very least, he seriously should consider 2 changes. I think maybe it's time for Mavropanos to come in, and I think maybe it's time for Kudus also to start. Who for? I'll leave that to you to decide. Mavropanos for Agurd, Mavropanos for Zuma, go 3 at the back. I don't know. You decide. When it comes to Kudus, the obvious would be to replace Antonio with Kudus, but I think quite possibly he could also replace Souček with Kudus as well, and keep Antonio on as well. Let's see how they do. Let's see if they can do a Diaby Watkins style approach, the way Aston Villa did, and see if they can be a formidable sort of setup. Imagine having the likes of Kudus behind Antonio. Antonio wouldn't have to do all the bloody running around. Kudus would do that for him behind as a number 10, with Paqueta on one side, with Bono on the other side, and you still got Ward-Prowse and Alvarez, holding the flanker behind them. Could work. Why not? Moyes has got to make some changes, though, without a shadow of a doubt. Whether he'll do it for the game against Everton or not, I don't know. Because my theory is he's probably not going to do these changes until we kind of secured our way through the Europa League group stages. But I'll come to the Europa League in a minute, and I'm going to take a little break to have a bit of water, and then I'll get back into your chat. Let's do your chat first, shall I? I don't know where I was, so I'm just going to pick random one. Vinay, it's not one bad game. Moyes has a history of being obsessed with Antonio and Souček. Moyes hates change and change hates him. Lee, Villa, an on-form Villa and a bad performance, mistake from us. Hey, we can't keep expecting West Ham to win every game. And as soon as we do, the fans are on the team. And Moyes, oh, well, on to the next one. Oh, man, Paqueta looked like he down tools in the first half. As he stopped running, I shouted at the telly. We were there, and it looked like he down tools. English Yardie. Steiden, we trust. Moyes needs a long vacation on the QE2, to be honest. Too much excuses for Moyes. I don't think I was making excuses tonight. I said, where credit is due, but where criticism has to come in. And I criticise him. Late substitutions, probably the wrong setup, the wrong team lineup, and certainly the wrong tactics. And the irony, we had more possession, and it didn't go well. John, by the way, still on Mr. Show, I was in hospital. Oh, mate, I hope you're okay. Andy, weren't Paqueta's best game. I agree still. Antonio could have even passed the ball to a Villa player, couldn't even pass the ball to a Villa player, let alone one of us. Souček 9 passes in 65 minutes. Paqueta 70 touches and 55 passes, 78 completion. That's not good for him. Bill, good evening to you. I hope you're well. We knew yesterday could happen. The chances we gave to others recently, they couldn't put away, was going to change by someone. Yeah, their finishing was absolutely superb. Charlie, our midfielder, Luz and Camara are good enough to dictate against anyone on form. Trust me, you shouldn't scrutinise anyone on those mids except Paqueta for giving the ball away. And the irony is, I was shouting and screaming for us to get Camara. You got him on a free, didn't you? You got him on a free. And I remember when we were talking about looking for defensive midfielders, I kept saying, this Marseille player is fantastic. I don't know why we're not going for him. And well done. I'm sure you got him on a free, and well done for having done that. Let's scroll down. What else have we got here? I would like to see Mavropanos start a game. He looked decent in the games he has played in. I agree. I like to see him, and I think it's going to happen. But when? Don't know. Sniffer, good evening to you. Here's a start for you. In the 3 seasons, West Ham finished 6th and 7th and won the Conference League. Jarrod Bowen played 19 more Premier League games than Harvey Barnes and scored 2 less goals. Good stat. Interesting stat. And we're all screwed. Yeah, Harvey Barnes. Is he injured at the moment? No, isn't he? Morel. Moyes needs to start Kudus and bring on Antonio from the bench. It would keep Kudus happy and get used to the team. And Antonio can rest and come on against tired defenders. Don't disagree. Hammerit. Moyes, unfortunately, likes to play a player through a shit form patch, so I can't see Souček being benched. Antonio becoming an impact sub, etc. Probably true. Keith. Excuse me. Stel, is Greek Cypriot and Greek not the same language then? I found I can still communicate with my broken Greek. It is the same language, but I speak colloquial Greek, village Greek. And the Greeks from Greece don't understand a word I'm saying, and I don't understand a word they're saying. So I'm fucked, really, aren't I? Trini, even when we have won our games, I cannot clearly see how. I don't know what our style of play is. When we win, we don't dominate the game. It's an enigma. But this is the irony, Trini. And this is what people are talking about, having possession, etc., etc. I looked at the way Villa scored some of their goals, especially the third goal, and looked at the way they did counter-attack. We're not the only team that counter-attacks. Villa counter-attacked for some of their goals, and they did it really, really well. And I think that's what Moyes wants to do. He wants to have that sort of that counter-attacking style with a little bit more possession, but it works out when we win our games. It's because we have very little possession, but we do an awful lot with it when we do. That's what he wants. He wants us to be a counter-attacking team, but it's it didn't work. See, I think Villa kind of knew this and didn't give us an opportunity to counter-attack. We had very few opportunities to counter-attack. They were doing it better than we were. Let's scroll down. What else have we got here? Tony, good evening to you. We should sign that striker who plays for Italy and scored against England the other week. Looks pretty good. That's all he did, though. Trini, not having this Villa being a difficult side to beat. Granted, they're better this season, but we are meant to be their bogey team. Exactly. Until yesterday, Moyes has not lost against them in 14 games. And then we turn up. Jerry, anybody worried about Zuma? He can't run, and you can't be like that in this league. Yeah, mentioned it. That's why I asked, if it came to changing a defender, a central defender, who would it be? Would it be a Gerd or would it be Zuma? I'm in two minds, to be quite honest with you. I get why people would think it'd be a good, but I'm not so sure because I think Zuma is slowing down. Mark, our next 5 matches in the Premier League are against sides we should not lose to. Let's hope we accumulate a lot of points and the positivity returns. We could be around the top 6 after a third of the season. We could be absolutely correct. I think what's disappointing is someone alluded to it earlier. We can't seem to beat the teams above us. Moyes has got this mental block, hasn't he, when it comes to teams above us? How far behind am I? Not far. That's pretty good. Let's scroll down. I'm not going to do that, Epic. I've seen it. Trini, blaming Areola for any goal when Villa walks through the other 10 outfield players. I agree. And I don't blame. Look, like I said earlier on, I think when it comes to the first goal, it got deflected. I think the penalty's a penalty. And I think it's interesting. When the penalty was being taken, Ward-Prowse was behind the penalty taker. And Ward-Prowse is doing that, like sort of, go to your right, go to your right, go to your right. Areola went to his right and the ball went straight in the middle. So thanks, Ward-Prowse. English Yardie, Emery or Moyes? Emery over Moyes all day for me. Moyes plays cowardly lion football for me. Charlie, your fullbacks abandoned their positions, especially for our third. Zuma put Watkins on his weaker side. Can't fault the goalkeeper or Zuma. Zuma more than the goalie. I can't fault the goalie. It was a great strike. Flemmer, Areola is the reason Moyes is in the job. He's been man of the match for 5 games because we can't defend and can't pass and we can't score. Well, we can do some of these things, but we just didn't do any of them at the weekend. James, Stella, apart from recent years, traditionally we always get thumped at Villa Park, as usually we did playing anywhere north of the Watford Gap, and that goes back to West Ham way hate days. Well, I said earlier on in the stat, we hadn't lost to them since 2015, but before that, bit different. John, did Alvarez get a card for the non-penalty? It was a clumsy challenge. Was it enough for a penalty? I'm not so sure. I don't know. No, he didn't, but Emerson did. So no Emerson for Everton. He picked up his 5th card. But Alvarez didn't, ironically. Once Watkins was in the box, Trini, Zuma in the box. Zuma did all he could do. Watkins took a punt and it paid off. Doubt he will ever score with his left foot like that again this season. Probably true. Morel, been a few times Areola and Agurd have had misunderstandings and communication. Personally feel Mavropanos should be given his chance in the league. I want to see some changes. I do want to see some changes. When will it happen? I think Alvarez is not suspended. He didn't get a card. He didn't get a card for the penalty, ironically. What was that comment that you made earlier? I got put off. Mavropanos, I think he should get a chance. But I don't think it's going to happen until we're secure in the group stages of Europa League. Andy, Zuma looks injured to me. He cannot run at full tilt at the moment. Yes, Mavropanos alongside Agurd at the moment keeps balance right, right-sided defender, left-sided defender, etc. Daniela, okay, does it not feel nice, but a poor day at the office, a pass we would always did this have a great at-home game, but poor away. So let's not overreact too much, be unhappy for too long. Well, I think hopefully we can put it right at the weekend if we beat Everton. Sahel, good evening to you. How many skilled players does West Ham United have to finally put Souček as a number 10? The football has turned upside down with Moyes. I think you're talking about Benrahma, quite possibly, and Kudus on the bench as well. Benrahma didn't even get a sniff. Even Fornals. We do have good players on the bench. Then use them. Don't use them at 60 minutes, 80 minutes, 89 minutes. Use them. Snipper. West Ham 42% possession on Sunday. If that's a lot, then you should pack up and go home. That's not bad for an away team. Come on. We're the away team with 42% possession is not bad. Trust me, it's double what we've had at away games so far this season. So it's not bad. James, just why did we buy Mavro if Moyes will continue to play Zuma at right back? Zuma at right back. We didn't play Zuma at right back. Or do you mean Soufal at right back? Can Mavropanos play at right back? I'm not sure. Let's scroll down. Trini, will those realise it's Moyes' ball when Kudus starts and is ineffective because of the hoof ball we play? Well, Kudus comes on and he keeps the ball a lot, but I want to see him being on longer. Mandy, good evening to you. Stel, Antonio is 33 and a half. How can Moyes start a striker at that age? I thought he was already 34, but you put me right there. I hope you're well, Mandy. I haven't seen you for a while. Andy, Kudus will start on Sunday still, and everyone says at last the problem with his first start in the Premier League is it will be left full back. Let's scroll down. Morel, it is frustrating when you see what Villa have done in less time and less money. The striker problem continues to be our Achilles heel. Don't disagree. Martin, good evening to you. Personally, I think the reason for Villa being on a different level than us is simply down to the manager. That's the difference. Yeah, a lot of people are alluding to that. Andy, Moyes signs Diaby, gets non-starts in the Premier League, same amount of minutes as sub. Emery signs Kudus, and he would have made 5 starts as Diaby in the 10 role. Therein lies the difference. Yeah, fair play. Ed to English Yarder. Yes, we don't always see our talented players playing to their best strengths. I'm not sure Moyes has figured out how yet to regularly make them tick. If he hasn't worked it out yet, I guess he will never work it out, will he? Let's scroll down a bit more. Andy. Sorry, not Andy, Adam. A new manager and some of the youngsters starting, it'll happen, but not for a couple of years, where we're still going to be moaning. It's the fans' way. It's the fans' way. When are we ever happy? Good evening, Chewbacca. I hope you're well. I don't think you took a break for a drink. I think you were throwing shapes to the music. There you go. That's my drink. Water. I need it. Morel. That's the thing with Moyes against top half teams. He has an inferiority complex despite our players being capable to do more with a different style. Montana. Everton are waiting for Moyes. He can go there to replace Dyche. We need fresh ideas. Oh, would Everton take Moyes? Richard, good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Evening, buddy. Off to Athens on Wednesday, back on Sunday, so at least watching. West Ham means I get sun on my face. I'll see you out there, mate. We're going out on Wednesday. Wednesday afternoon we're going. Let me know what time you're flying out there and we'll catch up. Henry, why do Moyes lovers get so offended when he gets blamed for things that were so obviously his fault? Dino's needs to play over a Gerd. Richard again. Dino can play up front worth a punt. I don't think you're kidding either, are you? Paul, can't win every game. Memory and reality check. We almost got relegated last year, ruining numerous players and playing atrocious football along the way. Bad day, we go again. Well, we do go again because it has been not a bad start to the season, despite the fact that it was a terrible season last season. But it hasn't been a bad start this season. We've played 1 or 2 bad games. This is the worst game. Against Aston Villa, it's the worst performance we've put in so far this season. Anthony, Henry Layton, how can Moyes get the blame for what goes on the pitch? It's the players who have been counted for, not Moyes. After all, they get paid enough money. And this is a good point, because the dilemma is, you can blame Moyes for as much as the style, the tactics, etc. But when you see players can't even pass to each other, Paqueta, I thought he was the worst player on the pitch for West Ham at the weekend. He can pass. People have alluded to. Sojic couldn't pass. Ward-Prowse didn't necessarily have a good game. Antonio couldn't pass to anyone. Our defenders couldn't defend, couldn't close down. And when that happens, as much as you want to blame Moyes, and yes, I get it, I understand it, and I'm not standing up for Moyes on the game. I think he did the wrong things. Like I said, I thought at half time he was going to make changes and pulled Antonio off, etc., and that didn't happen. And putting Kudus on when we're kind of like 2-1 down, and just after he came on, we went 3-1 down. He did make tactical errors, but then Anthony's right. When you got players that can't even pass to each other, you're like, well, how can he? You can't blame Moyes for that. When Paqueta put us in a difficult situation to get the penalty, etc. What then? Montana, if we lose against Everton, now that will be a sackable offence. There will be no coming back from that. If we lose against Everton, I will be surprised. But I hope that doesn't happen, of course. Let's scroll down. Ryan the Iron, good evening to you. Sorry, give me a second. Let's take that off. Right. Good evening to you. Many good points, well made, Stel. Cycling back to my manor in Spain in shorts and vest, you bastard. Ain't it raining? Mate, come on. It must rain in Spain at some time. And they call that winter over here. Keep up the good work. I hate you. But keep well and cycle safely. Emerson is suspended. He is, but not Alvarez. Alvarez will be playing at the weekend. Anthony, Moyes is staying till the end of the season, and the better you lot get used to it, the better for all concerned. I think he will. I think he will stay till the end of the season. Crafty, good evening to you. Crafty Dave, I'm still Moyes out. Hope all is well. All is well. I hope you are too, mate. Ed, good night. Good night to you, Ed. Thanks for joining. Much appreciated. And thank you for commenting. Trudge, good evening to you. I would be harsh and subbed Antonio for Kudus at halftime. It would be hard. Look, I think we just needed a change of momentum, and I think maybe bringing on Kudus at halftime could have changed that momentum. All right, if not Antonio, then for Souček. But I think Kudus should have come on at halftime. To be honest with you. Good evening to you. While Kudus will be playing left back on Sunday, Henry. Anthony, Laurie, Moyes' job is to recognise when things aren't working and when players aren't playing well, and then make subs. Not with 5 minutes left when we're 4-1 down. Yeah, he should have made changes sooner. I don't disagree with that. Good evening to you. Good afternoon to you, Hammer Mulder. I hope you're well. Everyone blaming Moyes, but really the crack gave away 3 goals. We did give away goals. We absolutely did. Keith, Kudus scored 18 goals for Ajax in 22-23 season, and he was not their striker. Go figure. Yeah, I think we all agreed. I think he should be starting games without a shadow of a doubt. You know, Moyes alluded to perhaps he was close to starting. Then start him, not just for the European games, but start him in the league. Usual. Ajax manager sacked today. Only been in the job 10 minutes. Wow. Apparently they haven't won a game since Kudus and Alvarez left. Is it true that you passed to Antonio on the pitch? You can't get a yellow for wasting time, Richard. Hammer Mulder. Players have to take a lot of responsibility. They played crap. Couldn't do the basics. Totally agree. I do totally agree with that. They couldn't do the basics. Right. Let's get on to some other news because I did put the video up and then I forgot all about it. So very, very briefly on some other news. And I know you're going to love all this. You know what's going to happen, don't you? First bit of news. West Ham United women's team played at the weekend. Give me a minute. It won't take long. They scored a late second half goal on Sunday to share the spoils again in the 1-1 draw against Liverpool. That was the last game in the Super League fixture before the October women's international break. Liverpool took the lead, but West Ham came out on the second half with a much improved performance, and it was deep into stoppage time when Japanese international Riko Ueki stabbed the ball home from close range. The women's team are 8th in the league with just 1 win and a draw from 4 games this season. Their next fixture is not till the 5th of November when they host Bristol City. There you go. That was painless, wasn't it? Right. What about the under-18s? Under-18s were in action at the weekend where they hosted Derby County in the Premier League Cup at Rush Green. On Saturday, the Young Hammers secured a crucial 2-1 win over Derby County in the Premier League Cup Group B game, and they're now top of their league. They've got 1 more game to go in that in the Premier League Cup. So well done to them. And of course, man of the moment or child of the moment, Dan Rick, his incredible long-range strike, which settled the tie for the under-18s, signed his first professional contract for West Ham United last week. After being part of the squad that's won the under-18s Premier League South last season, the FA Youth Cup as well, the 17-year-old has already scored 4 goals in all competitions this season. Well done to him. Another talent looming. Now, the under-21s haven't played for a while, but they're due to be back in action again on this coming Friday when they host Middlesbrough at Rush Green. Some loan news. We've got Flynn Downs had a good game at the weekend, picked up a crucial assist as Southampton beat Hull City 2-1 to go 4 games unbeaten in the FL Championship on Saturday after the midfielder broke for, I don't know. But anyway, Southampton now sit 5th in the Championship table with 20 points. Well done to them. Other players out on loan. Archie Woods, was another hammer to see a win as he featured in the final 18 minutes of Dartford's 2-0 win over Havant and Waterlooville. Freddie Potts, he's having a decent season as well, out on loan. Freddie Potts would also see a positive result for League One side Wycombe Wanderers when they secured a 2-2 draw against Peterborough. And Wycombe Wanderers now sit 8th in the league with 6 wins and 2 draws from their first home 12 games. And finally, defeats for 2 Hammers goalie Nathan Trott for Vedral FC beaten 2-1 by FC Copenhagen in the Danish Superliga. And Mason Terry, another goalie, out on loan for Concord Rangers, lost 3-1 to Chatham Town. Right. Fixtures. We heard the other day that one of our fixtures is going to be changed in December because of TV. We now face Crystal Palace on Sunday, the 3rd of December, with kickoff at 2 p.m. Sky Sports selected this game just to really fuck us up because we got a game against Tottenham on the 5th. But I think very, very possibly now that the game against Palace has moved to the Sunday, it feels almost evident that the Tottenham game will be moved to the Wednesday instead of the time that it's allotted to here on the 5th at 7:45. Unless they do make us play 2 games in 3 days. Will they do that? Who knows? Let's see. Right. What about the Europa League? Well, we've got a big game coming up this Thursday. We can put our Premier League woes to one side and focus on not the Premier League, on the Europa League. And now, I don't know if they're still watching. I know Wiggy doesn't even bother watching, but I'll be flying out there with my mate Wiggy. Look at that shirt. That's one of his tame shirts for Wiggy. But Paul, mate, hopefully I'll see you on Saturday, on Sunday, sorry, for the Everton game. And you will be missed out in Olympiacos, mate. I wish you well. Right. Last time we played Olympiacos was in 1965. 4th of November 1965. 24th of November 1965, when we beat them at home 4-0. Jeff Hurst getting 2 goals. And we then drew 2-2 away in the Cup Winners' Cup back in 1965. So that was the only time we've ever played against them. Now, in terms of Olympiacos, if anyone is going out there, is that going to come up? There we are. Olympiacos at the Karaskakis Stadium in Piraeus on the west side of Athens. Capacity just over 33,000. They've been champions, the Greek champions 47 times, Greek Cup winners 28 times. They currently lie first in their league. And their top goal scorer, it's an interesting one, is 30-year-old free signing who's got 9 goals this season, Ayub El Kabi. He's got 9 goals for them so far this season. In the Europa League, they haven't really done that well, to be quite honest with you. They've played 2 games. They've lost one. They lost 3-2 to Freiburg at home. And then away to TSC, Bakatopola, they were winning 2-0. They should have won the game pretty easily. But Bakatopola came back and scored a last-minute equaliser to draw the game. So they're currently sitting with 1 point in the league. So we go out there. It's not going to be. No game is easy. Let's not get carried away with ourselves. No game is easy. But if we do beat Olympiacos, that sets us in a good stead for winning the group stages and getting through to the knockout stages of this competition. And if we do that, I've kind of alluded to it earlier on. By the way, if you go out there, be safe. Hopefully, we hear an awful lot of problems are out there with Greek football at the moment. It doesn't sound pleasant. But for those of us who are going out there, we're going to go there. We're going to be picked up in Athens and we're going to be taken by coach to the stadium. It's going to be sort of all properly policed, etc. And then we're going to be sort of taken back into central Athens afterwards so that we don't get to confront or be confronted by the Olympiacos fans. But anyway, if you're going out there, do be safe. Now, I alluded to earlier that David Moyes, I think he will start making changes in the Premier League with the starting 11. But I think he's going to wait, like I said earlier on, until we kind of secure a passage through the group stages of the Europa League. And I think that's Thursday could be crucial for us. If we win that, obviously we've got to see what's going to happen between Freiburg and TSC. I kind of think that we expect Freiburg to beat TSC. But I think Moyes will think we're one step into the knockout stages of the Europa League competition if we win on Thursday. And if we do, that's when we might start to see some changes happening in the Premier League in terms of first 11. Kind of alluded to it already. I think there are kind of three possible changes or 3 changes that Moyes should be making. We've spoken quite a bit about 2 of them already, about Mavropanos coming in, whether it be to play in a back 3 or whether it be to either replace Zuma or a Gerd. Some of you have mentioned the Gerd. Some of you have mentioned Zuma. And I think Moyes will wait to see, us get through, get the win on Wednesday. I know on Thursday, sorry. I know that doesn't guarantee us a place in the knockout stages, but we win 3 games out of 3, 9 points. We create a gap between the other teams in that group in the Europa League group stage. I think that's when you'll start seeing the potential of Moyes going, right, Europa League is done. We've got 2 home games coming up and only 1 away game after the game on Thursday. And we'll fancy our chances at home against anybody. And then I suspect you'll start seeing some changes. I've already mentioned one of them, Mavropanos. I think Kudos might start at the weekend, but I'm not so sure. But the expense of who? Antonio or Souček? I guess we'll have to see. And then the other change is someone that we've kind of talked about. Well, there's 2 players that we talked about a little bit earlier on, either Fornals or Benrahma. I think they've both got points to prove. I think they could do a really good job for West Ham United. And I think, can do. We know that they can. We've seen them do it. And I think you'll start seeing David Moyes start to change the team a lot more after what happens on Thursday. If we don't win on Thursday, it'll be much the same again. But if we do win on Thursday, I expect to see Moyes start to be a little bit more, I don't know, I don't want to use the word ambitious, but a little bit more casual with some of the players that he picks. So, instead of being rigid, Antonio all the time, Souček all the time, etc., I think he might start looking at some alternatives. And I think we've got alternatives on the bench who should be starting. Kudos, absolutely. Mavropanos has got to be pretty close. And then we look at Fornals and or Benrahma or even both of them. And you've got to start thinking to yourself that maybe they deserve an opportunity to get in. I don't know what's going on with Benrahma. He fantastic for us last season. Obviously, he set us going in the final of the Europa Conference League with the penalty. Such confidence that he had going up there and taking that penalty, scoring it with aplomb. But this season hasn't been great for him, and we're not sure why. It doesn't seem to. Something's not clicking for him, and he hasn't really been doing it. And every time he has played, let's not forget, he hasn't been, he started games at the beginning of the season, but his form has gone. And then Fornals, I don't know what's going on with him as well. He's been such a great player for us, and I don't know why. I don't really understand why Moyes has all of a sudden seemingly seems to have lost confidence in him. I can't put my finger on why that is, but I would like to think that at the very least, we start seeing more of Mavropanos and more of Kudos in the starting lineup after Thursday. And then hopefully, perhaps, we start seeing a bit more rotation in the squad and using the likes of Fornals and Benrahma. Now, there's another player, Mbama. I know everyone's shouting out, got to play him, got to play him, got to play him. I don't understand why we didn't loan Mbama out. I was convinced in the summer transfer window that he'd go out on loan, spend the season maybe in a championship team, etc., smash a few goals and then come back fighting fit. So I don't quite get why he is not being utilised. But when he is behind Benrahma and he's behind Fornals and he's behind Kudos, then he's not going to get a lot of game time at all, is he? So let's see what happens with Mbama. But I think for me, once we get if we get a positive result against Olympiacos, and positive meaning not a draw, I'm talking about a win. We get a positive result against Olympiacos on Thursday. That's when Moyes might start going, okay, I think we're kind of done. We're nearly there with regards to Europa League and knockout stages. Now I'll start using players that he's going to use on Thursday. You kind of know that Kudos will start on Thursday. Mavropanos will start on Thursday. Probably Benrahma and Fornals are likely to start on Thursday as well. I think he wants to get that out of the way, and then we might start seeing some of these players either getting more game time in the Premier League or some of them starting. I don't know what you think, but that's my theory. My theory is that Moyes has got this 2 teams in his mind. I know not a lot of clubs do it, but he's got certain players he thinks are good enough for Europa. He's got other players that he thinks are right for Premier League, not good enough, right for Europa, and other players are right for Premier League, and he doesn't want to mix them up too much. But I think after Thursday, we get a positive result, we get a win, and then you might start seeing a little bit more mix between the squad players. Right, let's go into your chat. English Yardie. To be fair, for me, we are better suited playing the false nine. We have the players to play that way. I agree. I do actually agree with that. Good evening to you, Sean. Thank you for joining. I hope you're well. Thanks for joining. Much appreciated. Stephen, good evening to you. Best teams have howlers. Luckily, it didn't. Luckily, didn't see the game. Yeah, well, unluckily, we were there at the game, and it wasn't. It wasn't great. Let's be honest, it wasn't. Let's scroll down. Paul, Richard Dodds, brilliant. The one about waste time. Dodsey, I didn't put Dodsey down for a joker, but there you go. Brian, I agree. How can Moyes be convinced that rested Benrahma, Kehrer, or Fornals, or even Cornet couldn't have helped us in the second half? I don't know what's going on with Cornet. Don't know if he will even be here in January. Fornals, I agree. He could have used Benrahma. He could have used Fornals. I think they could have come on and given us a little bit of impetus. That's the thing that annoys me with Moyes. You know, when you can see that the players that are on the pitch aren't doing it. You know, if it had taken off Paqueta and put Benrahma on or Fornals on, I don't think any of us would have complained because we know that Paqueta was having a howler. You know, if it had done the same with, I don't know, Ward-Prowse, again, we would have gone, you know, fair enough. The player's not playing well. Morel. I ain't got a clue who will play left back against Everton. Ain't sure. Johnson apparently is closer to being fit than Creswell is, but it will be interesting. I think Johnson wasn't on the bench at the weekends, but you could probably see maybe the opportunity for Moyes. And I know you ain't going to like it, but he might decide to go 5 at the back against Everton and play perhaps someone like maybe Cornet. Cornet's played at left back, or maybe play Cornet as a wing back. He's done that before in his career as well. English Yardie. Does anyone know if Mavropanos can play right back or left back? I saw him last week play for Greece. Looked like he was playing right back. Many people have said that he's played right back. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. I haven't seen the stats for it. But if he plays in a full-back position, he's a right-footed player, so I would hazard a guess that he can play at right back. But I don't know what he's like. Alan, Heitingham managerial statistics, January 23rd to July 23rd. Goals 22, games 22, wins 14, draws 14, 4 loss, 63% success rate. Do you think it could be Steiden's next managerial go? I said this earlier, much earlier in the show. I wonder, Heitingham is an interesting person that's been brought into West Ham United out of the blue, totally out of the blue. When we're all kind of guessing who might be David Moyes' right-hand man, no one saw the Heitingham coming in. And could it be? It's possible. It could be. Daniela, Godwiggy, that was meant to go on the... He's got worse than that. Trini. So Jeff, the only surviving member of the England 66 winning team. Yeah. Sad. Trini again. Olympiacos tradition, the team is average, but their stadium is very intimidating. So we've heard. I'll let you know what it's like on Thursday. Brian, I see could have started and scoring this Thursday, then not starting against Everton. Then we start hearing the unhappy rumours. I don't think, I've seen the comments and the rumours about, he'll be gone by Christmas. He won't be happy. Player that's just signed for us is not going at Christmas without a shadow of a doubt. I think he'd have been told, look, bide your time. It's going to happen. This is my way. I'm going to ease you in. He did it with Bowen. Let's not forget when Bowen came to the club, Bowen was eased in as well. We kind of forget that. James, Olympiacos is right beside the huge ferry port. A good starting point for a spot of island hopping in it. Well, I ain't got time for island hopping, mate. Get in and out as soon as we can. Hammer, I think could have starts Thursday, and if he performs well, I can see him start against Everton. Usual. How many tickets did West Ham receive for Thursday? 1,600, and they're still on sale. 1,600, and they're still on sale. Andy, some good news in Europe still. We will be in Europe after Christmas with 6 points already. We're almost guaranteed third place and entry into the last 32 of the Europa. I think we're going to do better than that, mate. I do think we're going to win our group and we're going to go into the knockout stages of the Europa League. Jerry, I have Greek family in Athens. Some support Olympiacos and others West Ham. I'm not even going there on this occasion. It's going to be an interesting time. Crafty Day, can you name the team we will put out Sunday? Can I name the team that we'll put out Sunday? I'm going to hazard a guess at this moment in time. it'd be the same team that started against Villa, I think. If there's a change, there'll be one change, and it'll either be Souček or Antonio, with Kudus coming in, maybe. Trini, if Moyes had half a clue, he would have played 3 at the back against Villa. Good point. Even Gary O'Neill spotted that and made changes to his Wolves lineup against them and got a point. Good point. Yeah, good point. Keith, anyone going to the game, don't worry. The astronomia, that's police in Greek, love English fans and will fuck me. Now I know I'm in trouble. If I don't get beaten up by a Greek fan, I'm going to get beaten up by the police. Thanks for that, Keith. Much appreciated, mate. Amrit, I hear the ladies will be fine out there, so I suggest donning a wig. Yeah, I won't get away with that with this, will I? Let's scroll down. English Yardie. Stel, will West Ham get an invite to FIFA World Club Tournament? I don't know. I don't think we will. Isn't that for Europa winners and Champions League winners? I actually don't know. It's a good question. I'm going to find out. Don't know. Good evening, Mickey. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Much appreciated. Thank you. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like button. Please hit the bell notification and please hit the subscribe button. Click notification. Thank you. You've done it better than I did. Old man, Moyes is going to use all the players that are going to AFCON in January, then replace them with fringe players. That's a good point. How many are going to the AFCON? We're going to have a Gerd. We're going to have Cornet. We're going to have Benrahma. Is that it? I think that might be it. Finn, good evening to you. I had loads of hope when Bowen got that goal. Sadly, it was only hope. I think we all did. I think we had that 10 minutes or so, didn't we? Where we thought, right, we're back in this. Out of nothing, we're back in this. And then sucker punch. Huge. Good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Great show as always. Alvarez and Emerson are both suspended for Everton game. Surely that will allow Kudus to play. I really don't think Alvarez, I'm going to double check this, but I'm pretty certain Alvarez didn't get, there was only one booking at the weekend. I know Alvarez was already on 4. Had he got a yellow, he would have been suspended definitely for Everton. We only had one booking, and that was Emerson. Emerson's definitely out on Sunday against Everton. Alvarez didn't pick up a card. Hamrick, I want to ask Moyes how starting Antonio was the best scenario after his previous history of crap form after internationals. Yeah, I don't think he played for Jamaica. But you're right. Unfortunately, his form has dipped long before the internationals. Carl, good evening to you. Moyes' style of football is negative, defensive, and boring. This score has been coming all season. A lot of people have said that, mate. Picats probably will defend with 10 versus Everton. Probably. Trini, Greece played a back 5 in their last game. Hence, it may have looked like Mavro played right back, but he was the right centre back. Right. Yeah. I didn't think he played right back, but yeah, it makes a lot more sense for him to have been a right centre back. Yeah. What else we got? Kevin, I hope there is not a rail strike on Sunday or engineer. Apparently not. No strikes. So see you at the game. English Yardie, still spot on the starting lineup against Everton. Basically the same old. Alvarez didn't get a booking, and it was definitely only one card, and that went to Emerson, who will miss the game. Steve, Mavropanos made some dodgy passes, which didn't reach his fellow centre-back and almost led to goals in the last Greece game against the Dutch. Perfect then for West Ham. English Yarders, still, Antonio started for Jamaica, and they won. Oh, there you go. I actually thought he didn't get picked. So, yeah, thank you for correcting me. Huge. I thought Alvarez got booked for the penalty. No, didn't get booked. There's the irony. Didn't get booked. Gave a penalty, but he didn't get a booking for it. Andy, Antonio plays against Haiti. Yep. Thank you. My mistake. I didn't think he got picked for the squad. Good evening, Merrick. Come on, you irons. Thank you for joining, mate. Much appreciated. Keith, Alvarez didn't get a yellow for the penalty. He was careless, not reckless, so no card. Daniela, just read we scouting Vangelis Pavlidis. We've been watching AZ Alkmaar. Yeah, Premier League footballer. I don't know. That's it. An hour and a half. It's quite. It's not long for me, really. Feel like I've done you out of half an hour. Anyway, I'm done. I'll be out in Athens on Wednesday. I'll be doing some shows. We'll do something. I'll show you Wiggy's latest shirt. It'd probably be as bad as the one that you saw in the photo. Thank you all for watching. Really much appreciated for getting involved in all your comments, etc. It's what makes the show. Absolutely. Without you, there wouldn't be a show. And I know that sounds corny, but it's true. So thank you all for watching. When I get out there to Athens, I'll do a show on Wednesday, just a brief something. Certainly do something when I'm at the ground as well. You know, of course, if we score, look out for the little videos I put out for the goals, etc. And hopefully I'll be back in one piece. Hopefully I'll be back in one piece on Friday, and we'll do another show then. Have a great week. Don't worry about the game. It was a one-off, and I know it's frustrating with Moyes, etc., etc. But I'm sure we're going to put it right. Have a wonderful week. Look out for the game on Thursday, of course. Obviously, you will. And I'll see you all very, very soon.